Funny how time flies. It is July the 30th. One more day to go. Can you believe it? We're almost done with 2026. My very special guest tonight on the Power Seat, I want to welcome Group CEO, Production Technologies Association of South Africa, Tapiwa Samanga is the Group CEO of Production Technologies South Africa, PtSA, the representative body of South Africa's tool, die, mold making and special machining sector. Under his leadership, PtSA runs a national turnaround program with the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition focused on modern manufacturing skills and enterprise competitiveness. PtSA also operates 4 vocational toolmaking centers of excellence in Swan, Cape Town, Gebeza and Durban, and has developed 17 globally recognized toolmaking qualifications. Tapiwa serves as principal at large and is also vice president of ISTMA World and president of ISTMA Africa. A passionate industrial development practitioner, Tapiwa has over 30 years experience across mining, industrial development, regional economic integration. He holds a Master's of Law in Mining Law and Policy, a Master's in Business Leadership, and a Bachelor of Science in Mining Engineering. His career includes commercial and developmental mining, and a role as Director of Industrial Development and Trade at the SADC Secretariat. He's worked across Zimbabwe, Zambia, Uganda, South Africa, Malawi, Liberia. He's also lectured at Wits Mining School. Tapiwa, good evening. How are you?
Good evening, Tich. Thank you for having me, and welcome to your listeners. I was wondering when you were ever going to have me.
So it looks like your dream has come true, Tapiwa.
Finally,
Well,
finally.
It's good to have you. I mean, you're a man who's been all over. You know African politics, African challenges when it comes to mining, and African problems when it comes to empowering the mining sector. I want to start off by quoting something that you said. You wrote that political freedom has been secured, but economic inclusion is still elusive for the youth of Africa. How can we empower our youth?
Teach, as you have read in my profile, I started off in mining engineering, and I would rather say I was actually sort of seduced into industrial development, and this is where I am now. So I sort of caught on to the manufacturing issues a bit late, but having been there, I then started to wonder. Why is it that some of the key issues that are actually the cornerstone of manufacturing were not really open to us on the continent? If I'm asked to count some of the smart people I know, you'll be one of them. But I could bet a few dollars you have never, yeah. But I could bet a few dollars you have never been exposed, and you are not aware of what tooling is. You are not aware of how that slicky car you drive is made. You can tell me how fast it can accelerate from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in so many seconds. But how each and every part, how the parts on that car are made, you're not aware. That's the sort of thing that I was referring to when I was saying freedom came, but the real freedom for us would have been knowledge of how things are made, including very simple things like the water bottle in front of you. Those small things are what has been kept away from us. And those are the sort of things that our youths are not aware of. And that's what we need to unlock for real freedom. If we can make our own things and contribute to manufacturing across the world, then we'll have arrived somewhere. That's where I was coming from in that quotation.
I agree with you. They say that global politics has designed it in such a way that Africa continues to supply the raw materials at the expense of its own people. And what then happens in return, we only become consumers rather than producers.
Um, I'm not so sure whether the intent was really to lock us out, but that's how it is. I'm reaching you now from Durban. I was attending the SADC Industrialization Week in Durban. And I will quote one thing that Honorable Blade Zimande, the Honorable Minister of the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation in South Africa said, that we were designed to extract minerals. And he called it from pit to pot, which means we mine copper in the DRC, upgrade it a bit, maybe turn it into cathode, and then we look for the nearest pot. We could even just put it in a tube and straight it lands in Durban or it lands in Beira. But there is no interconnectivity in terms of what we actually do. So our economies were structured around mineral extraction. We were receiving a presentation this morning. It was yesterday by one of our professors from the mining professors from WITS. And she was actually saying trading in mineral commodities amongst ourselves, African countries, of what we produce is actually less than 2%. Everything we mine, we ship out. Less than 2%. Actually, if you stand on a road now and try and check, if you would see any truck of ore going north, everything comes south to the ports. There is nothing that goes north.
Yeah.
That's how this thing has been structured. But we can't keep mourning forever. At some point, we have to start looking at saying, how can our economy start working together such that copper does not have to come from DRC, pass through Zambia, pass through Zimbabwe, pass through South Africa, onto the port without anything that we do along the way, even make a simple cable. That's our challenge.
Yeah.
And as that
now
all
this
goes
is
out,
really
that goes with our jobs.
Yeah. This is such an important conversation, Tapiwa, because the future of Africa depends on solutions to this problem. Where do we begin? Do we begin at mining level, business level, or is it policy level? Should governments then ban exports and look at beneficiation as the really most important solution that Africa needs to embrace?
You would recall that once in a while, when people really get upset, there will be bans. We're banning the export of this, that, this, that. But then a few months down the line, that ban is undone. The issue is we were not prepared, or we are not prepared, and we continue unprepared. So we need to throw our fishing line several meters in and actually say, what is the Africa that we want? I mean, we've got this, we've got, like in Africa, we've got Agenda 2063, we've got Vision 2030, 2040, 2050, depends, it varies from whichever country that you are in. Is then to actually make a very deliberate, intentional program to actually say, what is it that we want to achieve in 10 years, in 5 years, in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years, right? Part of what we want to achieve, do we have the skills, right? Who are the technology partners that we need to bring in and start working in to turn our copper into copper cables, to turn it into windings, whether it's for transformers and whatever, and even then start making what we call usually tradable goods and services. That's where we need to start. But unfortunately, most of the time, because of our fragmented markets, policies that are not integrated, we never get to start. So part of what and this is one of the things that we're actually talking about down here during the SADC Industrialization Week, that we need to move away from orthodox economics. We need to move away from orthodox funding, orthodox banking, and try something. And we have seen it work in other places. We've seen, people always talk about the Far East, especially China. China moved away from the conventional and started something that worked for them. That's what we need to be doing. We need some people who are brave to do it. There will be failures, there will be mistakes, but then we never know if we never start.
Wow. That's we could go on and on. I'm really excited that we have you tonight because read in a report that unfortunately a lot of politicians in Africa they like to put paperwork together, but they never want to be able to turn that paperwork into action. And most politicians in Africa are perhaps lawyers. We don't have as many engineers, individuals such as yourselves, being in areas where you can begin to put together solutions for Africa as a politician.
I don't want to upset politicians, but this is the real truth. There's a reason that from the 80s, Chinese presidents have been engineers.
Yes, all of them. Xi
And most
Jinping
of
is an engineer
yeah,
today.
yes, it has actually been engineers because they realized that the challenge that they had was actually to industrialize. So they would
Yeah.
put at the front people who actually would be able to articulate and understand fully what needs to be done. But then, unfortunately for ourselves, people like Tapiwa are very poor politicians. It's difficult for me to go into a constituents campaign and play the whatever game needs to be played for me to get elected. And we have not allowed space for technocrats to actually come into the fore and lead what needs to be done. A couple of weeks ago, I was actually in China. I spent 2 weeks in China walking through our partners and even our competition in China. And you can see how they've structured things. You can see very clearly. They do not hide things away from you. You can actually see what they have done, how they have done it. What we lack is the intentional discipline to, let me say, copy, because you can see how they have actually structured things. Do we have the willpower to actually push and say, this is how we're going to do it? And this is the discipline that is actually needed to do it. Very simple
Yes.
things, like today we're talking about skills, right? If I say, right, for instance, first thing, every child go to school. If your child does not go to school, it's a crime. Those sort of policies are even there in some African countries, but probably not enforced, right?
Okay.
Every school offers what we call STEM subjects: your science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, right? It should be a crime, social crime, let me
Yeah.
say, for your child to teach to drop maths and science. It's okay if they fail it, but they should not drop it. During our time going to school, even if you are going to a teacher's college to learn how to teach divinity, you still had to do maths and science.
Yes.
And that
I
sort
remember
of
that.
policy produced a number of Zimbabwean artisans that are actually working around the region, even across the world. So those sort of simple things, simple steps, we should actually start pushing for those. But the visionaries at the end, it would help if they had a technical background.
Wow. All right, so let's bring it back home a little, and let's talk about you as the CEO of PtSA, the voice of South Africa's tool, die, mold making, and special machining sector. How would you best explain how young people can learn how to become productive and look at tooling as a means of earning a living?
The first thing we really need to do now with young people is to market tooling. Young people now have got a number of options in terms of career paths. During our time, we did not have as many options. So the very first thing is actually to market and say to them, what is tooling? And as I said, part of our problem, and in PtSA, you've mentioned that we have 4 training centers. We even used to have 13 across South Africa. Part of our challenge from the first class of 175 that we had in 2010 was to explain what tooling is. Our just rough surveys show us that within South Africa, over 99% of Black households have never heard of what tooling is.
Ish.
And about 70% of white households have never heard what tooling is. And that's where the programs are. So if around the dinner table, families are actually talking about career paths, the word tooling never comes up because nobody has ever heard about it. So
That's a
so
big
that's where we
problem.
start. But then, how do we make children aware of it? The usual example I make, South African kids love their cars. The usual example I usually make is just say, okay, what's your dream car? And then they'll say a BMW, this and this and that. And then I'll say, okay, fine. Imagine the bonnet of your car. How do you know how it is made? They don't know. Then I'll say, right, fine. As tool makers, what do? We get a block of steel, we carve the mirror image of your bonnet, get a flat piece of metal, hammer it. That's how we make your car. And that's how we make every piece around the car. Then they start to get interested.
Yeah.
Right. So the kids have been exposed to vehicles, but nobody has exposed them to how they are made. And that's how in different settings, we actually start to get them know what tooling is, and that it is actually very well-paying career path, whether you remain a worker or actually you start your own business as you progress through the career.
Fantastic. Well, you are currently running 4 vocational toolmaking centers of excellence in the 4 different places where you're located. What happens at these centers? And as you mentioned, you are starting to get young people interested in tooling. Is this sustainable?
Tooling is a global skill, and as long as there will be people around, there will always be need for tool makers, because
Yeah.
everything that we consume as human beings, a tool would be used to make it. So at these centers, what we do, our flagship qualification is an artisan level toolmaker apprentice. So we have got what we call our own PtSA TDM powered apprenticeship program. When you actually finish it, it takes 4 years. When you are done with that, you then qualify to go and get an official accredited qualification in South Africa. It's an NTF level 5 qualification. And as a toolmaker, then you do a trade test and become the toolmaker. But what do we do ourselves? We do much more than even what the requirements of the trade test is. There are certain things
Okay.
that we do. So we set out applications. In the early days, would even go, because we're dealing with something that was not known. So back in 2010, 2011, we'd actually go with adverts and stick them at your local Spar and at your local Pick and Pay. Because we had quite a number of kids that were not doing anything around those townships, you would actually find that people would just come in and apply without knowing what it is. There's always one guy who I make fun of. He signed up thinking that this was for a call center operator training. You should see him now. He's a senior manager in one of the companies in South Africa. So that was our story. But what
Beautiful
we
story
also
there.
do teach, yeah, we have amazing stories, teach. If we've got a follow up on this, I would actually direct you to some of the kids where some of the kids that we have trained were like the first professional people in a family,
Yeah. Yeah.
and,
No, fantastic.
now
I'd really like for us to be able to follow up on some of the success
we can
stories
make
and
that follow up,
testimonies.
and we
Yeah.
can actually look at how this program has actually changed lives. So
Okay.
we advertise. We want a matric certificate, maths and science. We would be happy if it's above 50% for both subjects. But what we also realize is in some communities in South Africa, the teaching of maths and science is a bit weak. So what we do is we've got a selection system. It's very rigorous. It tells us whether you are aligned to the toolmaking industry. So sometimes we've actually had students who are below 50%, where we could actually see that you've got below 50%, primarily maybe because of the way you were taught maths, but you are good.
Okay.
And when they come on board, one of the first things that we actually do is we reteach maths, we reteach science, we reteach life orientation, we teach you business English, technical English, and that sort of bridging gaps, that sort of bridging course brings you to, I would say, to a capability where you can be able to cope with the rigorous demands of this. So our main course is the artisan course. We also have what we call a master artisan course. It's at a technician level. We also have a master's. We've just had a few candidates, but because of funding, not much of that is going on. But also what we have teach, and this is quite important, we have got part qualifications, which means you learn in layers about the course. I always give this example. Suppose you study medicine, you do your 5 years. During the 2 years of housemanship, maybe you have a nervous breakdown. You just walk away with nothing. But maybe you were a good midwife.
Yeah.
Or there was something that you could actually do. So what we do is along the way, as you go along with us, you actually gain competencies which we can certify, and you can off-ramp at any point. Although really our desire is that you finish everything and actually get the 17 credentials, we call them, that you have referred to.
Tapiwa, unfortunately, because of time, we're going to have to invite you back maybe sometime next week. This has been a very important conversation. Still a lot for us to cover. But if somebody wants to be an artisan, how can they get in touch with you?
www.ptsa.co.za. We are currently recruiting for an intake that we are taking in October. When you come in, we actually evaluate your household incomes. And we have got bursaries, mainly funded by the DTIC that we have. So
Fantastic.
don't shy away. To train a toolmaker actually costs about 1.2, 1.3 million rands over the 4 years.
Okay.
But we've got bursaries that we have. And so come and talk to us. Get onto our website, www.ptsa.co.za, and let's see where we can take you and change your life and change the life of your family as well.